Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
So you think that you've got trouble? Well, trouble's a bubble, so tell old Mr. Trouble to get lost. Why not hold your head up high and stop crying, start trying, and don't forget to keep your fingers crossed. That's right, it's time for Those Were the Days. If you didn't know, the Dick Van Dyke Show does indeed have lyrics. But we are here to sail our ways back to the black and white era of wonderful television, and I am here to do that as your host, Steven, with my remarkable writer's room, who I adore. We're starting off with the joke man himself, Mr. Travis.
Hello? Jenkins? Yeah? Uh-huh. No, I know. Yeah, no. Yes, I understand. I understand that you are studying to be a house detective. Yes, but I am the house detective. What's that? So he came in, you took his bags to his room, and when you went back in and barged in without knocking, he had a drawn-on mustache and was wearing a smoking jacket? Well, clearly this man is deranged. Let me get my pistol. I'll be right there.
Luckily for us, she doesn't have her toe stuck in a faucet. Amy.
Television as a medium since the very beginning has been used for cautionary tales, and we've covered quite a few of them on this show. We've talked about the dangers of drugs and alcohol or messing with powers that you don't really understand. Tonight's episode is a cautionary tale about not letting the intrusive thoughts win.
The house detective himself, Audie.
You know, I love how some things have changed since the 1960s, and some things haven't. We've progressed in so many ways, except how expensive dental care is.
That was good. That is not a takeaway I expected. But hey, I will take it. Out of all the rapid fire one-liners in this episode and little jokes right there at the beginning, that was not one I mean, I thought it was funny, but I wouldn't have lasered in on it like you. You must have children who need braces.
No, not at all.
No, never. Look, everyone needs braces, according to the American Dental Association. Anyway.
I'm on round 2. It's a good time.
they're great. We watched the Dick Van Dyke Show. Now, this we've done that before on Those Were the Days. We watched the Walnut episode during the sci-fi theme that we did. I guess what I want to know from you all, since we have talked about it before, but to refresh the audience kind of on where we were and where we may be now in terms of our relationship with this show. You watched that one. If I recall, most everyone enjoyed it. Have you had any more opportunities to watch the show since then? And does this show rekindle anything or make you go, never mind, I can't believe this show is what it is? Travis, where are you at on it?
I have not had opportunity to watch any Dick Van Dyke. I mean, I probably could have, but I haven't. However, watching this episode again, I was like, why haven't I been? Because I was just tickled beyond everything watching this. I adored it. I cackled at points. It was wonderful.
Great. How about you, Amy?
I'm in exactly the same boat. Like, I was watching this today, and first of all, because like of how I grew up, Dick Van Dyke will always be, it's always, him from Mary Poppins for me, right? Like,
sure.
that's just
Right.
that's just who he is. And I'm like, today, like this time, like the Walnut episode was hysterical and I loved it and I thought it was a great show. This episode, I was like, damn, he was pretty good looking, huh? Like, huh? Wow. But no, I don't know why I haven't watched it. I should just watch all of it, is clearly the correct answer.
Oh, that's great. Audie, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Haven't watched any since. Watched this and was thoroughly delighted. And was like, why haven't I been watching more? So,
yeah, that's
was great.
awesome. This episode that I brought to you all is called Never Bathe on a Saturday. And I don't remember if I pitched it this way to you during the show or after the show, but it's not only my favorite episode, one of my favorite episodes of the Dick Van Dyke Show, but also one of my favorite episodes of television, period, ever. And what's funny is when I was looking for it, I expected it to be high on the list on IMDb, and it is. But some of the first reviews are like not very glowing. There's a whole lot
Yeah.
of discussion about how none
was
of this
somebody
would
that-
ever happen.
And I was like, there's like one part that I feel like wouldn't happen. But
Yeah.
like up to that point, I'm like, because let me tell you, you may have said in the intro that thank goodness I don't have my toes stuck in the faucet of but like, no, but that's the intrusive thought thing, right? Like you're in the like I have done that. I have been that close. So that happened and I went, oh man, oh no.
Yeah, that
But
could
for the
totally
grace
be.
of God go I.
Yeah, that could totally be me. And
Yeah.
it's funny because like one of the things the show is written around is Carl Reiner's whole mission statement is anything that happens in the show should be something that could potentially happen to real people. And
Yeah.
all around, I thought this was a very reasonable real people setup minus the never knocking guests, which we can get into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't just go into a hotel, but like that and like one other part which we'll get to, and I know I
We'll
think I
get
know a
there.
part you're
Yeah.
mentioning, you're talking about just wouldn't happen. But like other than that, the way he talks to Laura through the door at the discussion they're having to try and figure out why
Yep.
it's
The bath
really
mat.
good.
No, it's
Yeah, cover
Mhm.
yourself
All
with
of
the
that.
bath mat, the window on the door, the fact there were no towels in the room. Like there were so many well-written moments that just brought it all together. And Travis and I have had this discussion a little bit because we talked about the last the Never-Ending Story, and how we talked about like exposition and how you do it and how you do it in a TV medium where you can set something up visually or with little quips and stuff. You don't have to tell a whole story. This is one of those episodes where I think they did it really well, where they're like, okay, well, there's no towels. Let's cause the problem. She gets in the bathroom. What can we do with her stuck with her toe? And like, we'll make sure there's no towels in the room. Let's make sure there's a door on the back. They kind of write themselves into this conundrum that just keeps rolling. It's like a snowball. It's like once you
Yeah.
push it down the hill, there's just new stuff coming up the whole time. And I was writing notes watching this and trying my best to keep up, and I
It's so
couldn't keep up
fast.
with everything at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is one of those episodes they tell it through flashback, so it starts a little bit slow as they're kind of we're post incident at the
Mhm.
beginning of the show, and we can go ahead and dive into kind of the ins and outs and the scenes and what your favorite parts are and all that kind of stuff. But this
Before we do,
yeah, sure.
I just very quickly want to take a moment and appreciate Carl Reiner as a
Mhm.
writer,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
good Lord, this episode is fantastic. And then I love also the behind the scenes. I have to mention
Yeah,
this
please do.
because
Please do.
this apparently was like the one episode where he lost his temper on set while they were filming it, because Mary Tyler Moore was at the time going through quitting smoking. So she was very on edge, and she was upset because she spends the entire episode off screen. And so her and Carl Reiner butted heads, and she just got up and left. She stormed off set and left, and he had to go calm her down and get her back to finish the episode. And
Yeah.
I absolutely love that, because as somebody who has been a smoker, I could 100% understand that if like any little thing is going to set you off at certain points. And so that was really cool. But like, just Carl Reiner, just
Carl
the
Reiner.
writing in this is
Mhm.
so good. Oh,
Yeah,
just had to get that out. Had
he
to say.
he is one of the all-time greats, and I think about this a lot when I think about actors and comedy troupes and stuff that tend to go up in groups. Like I was talking to somebody else about this, thinking about Carl Reiner. I think about Mel Brooks and their
Mhm.
partnership together and how they rose through the ranks of Sid Caesar's show and everything, all the way up to making their own shows and then being friends forever. Just people find each other. And it
Mhm.
blows my mind because I think a lot about the 70s director troupe, Spielberg, Lucas, Coppola, like those folks,
Yeah.
all going to the same school and finding each other and then all blowing up in different ways. and like the Second City troupe out of Chicago that they pull from for SNL, the
Mhm.
SCTV guys, the Groundlings, like all those little comedy improv groups.
Yep.
People who are great tend to find other great people, it seems,
Not
and then
and
they
it's
go
not only
together.
that though. Like because it's also it's that whole I mean it's an it takes a village scenario but for creative endeavors, right? Like it's
Hmm.
so much easier to do literally anything even if it's your project and you're doing it on your own.
Yeah.
If you have people who have the same passion and the same vibe and the same they understand what you're doing. I literally just had this conversation with JF right before we started recording. There is a reason why he and I do so much together. And
Yeah.
it's because we get what we're doing. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I can throw literally anything at him and he will pick it up and go, "Yep." Like it can be the
Yeah.
wildest thing and he will be like, "Yes,
Yeah.
I
Let's
get it."
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
The closest I've had an experience, aside from this, thanks JF for saying we're great, but it is awesome finding other podcasts that want to do this. I think our show's good. But like other than that, like being in a band, a bass player I knew, my best friend in the world, we could play music together and like I knew where he was going all the time,
Mhm.
and no idea was ridiculous. We just, oh, you want to try that? Let's try that. Is you have this partnership that
Yeah.
kind of blows my mind. In the other instance, I made a game with some folks during a hackathon, and it was my idea, and having them go, "Hey, that sounds fun. I'll just pile on and support whatever you want to do this time, and then we'll do my idea next time." It's so cool to have that happen, and I imagine that's how shows like this, like with Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner, and then like the All in the Family crew, and those people who
Mhm.
find each other and go, let's just try the ideas, and everyone's willing to go, I'll support you. If you want that thing to happen, we're gonna write it, and we're gonna figure out if we
Yeah.
can make it happen. You get people giving honest attempts to make your dreams come
Yeah.
true. I think that's
Yeah.
the real thing. It's not there's no like I'm gonna sabotage this or I'm not gonna give it a try. It's I'm okay, this is the job, we're gonna try and make this happen, let's go. And
Yeah.
that's how I feel like this stuff works, and brings us back to like Carl Reiner and Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore, and they all made this amazing thing. And you've got, unfortunately, in this episode, we did not have any Buddy Sorrell, Maury
No.
Amsterdam,
Hmm.
who is a
Mhm.
dang treasure and magic every time he's on the screen. But like he was writing tons of jokes in the show just on a whim because he was just that smart and that quick. So it takes a village to make these things. You're definitely right. But I'm glad that Mary Tyler Moore got over her smoking and it stayed with us for a while and came
Oh,
back
yeah.
to
Mhm.
make this happen. But that is a
Absolutely.
hilarious story. Thank you for bringing that, Travis, because that was a piece of trivia. But I'm glad we went to that before we got into the show. So the episode starts as always with the intro, and we get did he fall over the ottoman or sidestep it? The Walnut episode was one of our lucky ones where he did trip. This one was one where he sidestepped. So now we've experienced both of those recorded intros, which I just loved because I remember as a kid watching this. I always went, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna sidestep it? Is he gonna fall over? It's wonderful. And we pick up the show. It's a very somber tone when it first starts. Like you've got Rob Petrie carrying Laura in his arms, walking into the room, looking very sullen. And then, of course, we need a reason to be telling this story. So
Mhm.
Millie just runs into the house carrying luggage, going, "I saw you were
The
home early."
smallest bag.
The smallest.
Just
Mhm.
Yeah, that is Millie is their best friend, one of their best friends, neighbor, but she's also kind of the Gladys Kravitz of this show, of just needs the gossip of the neighborhood.
sure.
But there's a sincere concern that she has. It's like, why are you home early? What's going on? Is everybody okay? I just saw you pull in because I was looking out my shutter, like that kind of. I just saw headlights and I needed to know what's going on. First of all, would anybody be cool with their neighbor just like grabbing their luggage and chasing them in the house?
I feel like I might be her. Like in my little 3-house neighborhood that we've got going on now, it might be me.
That's
I'm
pretty
like,
good.
oh,
I
oh,
actually
look who's
wish I was
home.
close enough with my neighbors that that would happen sometimes. Like I
Yeah.
don't really know the people around me very well, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
same.
If it was a coworker who just was, showed up and they happened to be my neighbor, I'd be like, oh yeah, we made it home. But if any of my neighbors did it, I'd be like, I don't know you well enough for this.
What are you doing? Why are you here?
Why are you here? It kind of puts a different angle on it. But yeah, if it was a friend, I think it would be okay. So they start explaining to Millie, Laura's so bummed out, and I love Mary Tyler Moore bummed out half cry. She is so good at the half cry stuff where she's not quite to tears, but they're on their way. And she's just so good at it.
I don't want to, and I don't want to gloss over, like when he carries her in and he's like, do you want me to take you to bed? And she's like, no, just dump me on the couch.
She's so depressed.
Just the whole mood.
Yeah, she talks about the whole trip being stupid. I just love the way she says that it was just stupid.
I mean, because
And
the intrusive thoughts won.
Right, yeah.
And that's the other thing. She acknowledges, oh, it'll be funny to me someday. Right now, it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
It will be.
It felt very meta that she would say, oh, I'm sure some people will find it very amusing. Because we're about to watch it. And they're absolutely right. It was very amusing.
This situation is comedic.
Yes, indeed. I'm sure Rob will write it into an Alan Brady show bit soon. Yeah, it's so good. So basically, they were on a second honeymoon trip, is what they start relaying to Millie about what they were doing. So they go on this honeymoon. They get to the hotel, and that's when we get our really great flashback dissolve.
So good. I miss those.
Yeah, right.
It's great.
1965. They really did a good wave. Like I was impressed. Special effects on point at the Dick Van Dyke Show. But they get to the hotel, and it's this fancy hotel, and you kind of get through the way they're talking that Rob has either gotten a bonus or he's in a better place financially for sure, because they are just blowing it out. I can only assume their first honeymoon was like, we're gonna go camp at a beach and sleep in our car and go home. Because this is definitely different, and they're very excited to be at this fancy, swanky hotel room that has like room service and big old place. I mean, it's real classy. So the first line that I got that I really loved is they are clearly in love with each other. They show up. Bellboy's going to put stuff away. Rob goes in for a smooch, and Laura says, "What about the bellboy?" And he says, "You first."
You first.
And I was
So
like,
good.
"Here we go. Here we go."
That was the first of the laugh out loud moments for me.
Yeah.
Which is genuine.
Cackled.
I just lost it with a great laugh right there.
Yeah, I don't often laugh out loud at a lot of stuff, and that one got me really good. Then Dick Van Dyke showcasing physical comedy right out of the gate when he kicks off his shoes and does that little dance.
Yeah.
Like, there's something
Like
about the
scuffing
way
on the
that guy
carpet.
moves. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one does that. Like, no one can pull that off. Like, he's the original. He's got it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bellboy comes out and kind of interrupts him with, "This is the thermostat." He's like, "Oh yeah, look at that," and has to tip the guy. He tips him with a little coin. I'm assuming it's a quarter, because that's what it probably was back then. And one of the comments I really liked a lot is Rob is sitting on the chair, and he says, "Oh, this will really show your parents." He said, "Oh, that Rob Petrie is never gonna amount to anything." And she says, "Oh, when did they say that? Last night." Love that. We get just so much in this part. If anything stood out to you, feel free to share. But the thing that got me too was the lingerie that comes out in 1965 on television. Shocked me.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, first of all, there was one bed.
oh yeah,
One very nice bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's got lingerie.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I mean, they were smooching.
Yeah.
There was like a lot.
Yeah. This was
And
Even
crazy.
Rob's like looking around the room like there's so many great places in here.
I
Like,
know,
right,
right?
Rob, what do you? Oh boy, what are you doing there?
There was so many little undertones about what's gonna happen. They did
And I
say
love the line. I love the line about it, because this is one of those things where there are many lines that were a 1-2 punch of comedy. When he asks her, "Where did she get that?" and she said, "The hardware store," and you think that's the joke, and he response. You know where to shop.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just got so many wonderful things. I love the use of the phone in this episode too. Just the pickup, hello,
Yep.
talk to the person on the other end stuff. That was really good because you could assume the conversation from the other side. I like the way they did that. That's kind of like Bob Newhart's big gag is he would always use a phone and make pretend calls and stuff, and it's usually pretty funny. So one thing I loved, he called to order champagne and caviar, and Laura's like, champagne and caviar, I'm going to get it. So he goes, he picks up the phone, and he's like, yes, I'd like a soft boiled egg, and does the margarine cost extra? And she's like, what? She's like, I can't have margarine? No. But then he ends up, he actually orders the champagne and caviar because he's just kidding. He's just a kidder. He's about to live his best life for the next 2 days is all I can get out of his demeanor.
Yeah.
No
he's
kids.
all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No kids. They're on their second honeymoon.
I kept writing down different lines, and he's like, and one rose. Yeah. And she's like, oh, Rob. And he's like, oh, did you want one too?
So good.
Dork. Such a dork.
And it's so funny because it works for his character too, because he is a comedy writer. That's his job as a character.
Yeah.
So you would expect him to be this quick-witted, and able to come up with this stuff out of nowhere.
If he's a good one, anyways.
Yeah, if he's a good one, sure. And then at one point, I just wrote, I can't keep up with the jokes in this scene.
No, you can't.
I'm
No,
done.
you can't.
I couldn't. I tried so hard. But then we get to the point where Laura wants to take a hot bath. He says, you want to take a hot bath? How did you know? You said it 10 times on the way up here. So
they are going to see a show.
That's right.
I feel like this is important
That is
because
important.
there is a timeline in process here.
Yeah.
But there's time.
Yeah. Plenty of time. Plenty
You
of
can
time to
get
have
your
a
toes
snack.
wrinkly.
Yeah. And I like that they order this is another writing piece of brilliant writing. We order the food because why don't we eat something now, go to the show and have dinner after? And that was just a little subtle thing, but it set up the reason they could do, what they could invite the champagne and the caviar up so they would have another person to interact with. Which is just a small thing, but it mattered at the end of the day. So she goes into the bathroom to get her bath, I guess. She's going to relax in the hot tub for a little while. And they make a joke about how she wants Rob to look, a smoking jacket and an ascot, and maybe a mustache like
Maybe
David
try to grow
Niven.
a mustache.
Yeah, try to grow a mustache. Look like David Niven.
David Niven.
Who was David Niven at the time? I meant to look that up. Did you get that, Travis?
David Niven was he did I mostly remember him as he was in Murder by Death as the Nick and Nora Charles type in that. He's playing that character.
Oh, okay. All right.
But he was a very just dapper, really buttoned up, good looking dude.
Yeah. I know it could
which is why the joke at the end. Yeah, which is why the joke at the end where it's like, trying to look like David Niven and Millie tells him he looks like Ben Turpin. And he does the cross-eyed thing, which is what Ben Turpin was known for, was great.
So he wants to look like Ben Turpin. He wants to look like David Niven. So he gets his smoking jacket and he puts it on. He goes through the luggage and he finds an ascot. And there's one, I could hear someone laughing, a very distinctive laugh in the audience during this time. It was this lady going, oh. It's like they had the microphone right next to this one woman who was just very vocal the whole time. Which reminded me of the I Love Lucy when they always said Lucy's mom was in the audience and had a very distinct laugh in every episode. I was like, oh, there's that lady again. So he gets that out and then he goes through Laura's bag and he decides he's going to paint on a mustache. And I love everything about this bit. Everything about it. The way he does it.
First of all, he did a great job.
He did a wonderful job.
Really did. That's not the first time he's painted a mustache on his upper lip.
It was so good, and he goes about so seriously about it. And this is the first time we also get the intrusion of the maid into the room without
It
knocking.
was so
Mhm.
Which
And
they
the
could-
maid, okay.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
the maid walks in, and it's Kathleen Freeman. Now,
Mhm,
you might not know her by name, but you have seen her because
Oh,
she
yeah.
has been in everything.
mhm.
She is indelibly in my brain for a character she played in Dragnet with Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks in the 80s in the Dragnet movie. She's in that, and for whatever reason, because that movie I saw it at the right age, so when I see her and I hear her voice, that's the immediately where I go. But she was in like
Blues
every TV
Brothers.
show. That's the other one is Blues Brothers. She was
Yeah.
Sister Mary Stigmata.
Yep.
Oh wow, that's such a good name.
And she is just fantastic. So as soon as she walked in, I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! That's so great." And apparently, this was her second episode of Dick Van Dyke. She had been in one previously where she was like the owner of the inn or the hotel that Rob and Laura had their first honeymoon in.
Oh wow. Okay,
Aw.
nice. That's a cool link up.
So-
That's awesome.
I kind of thought that was neat.
Yeah, that's on purpose. She has a way of carrying herself like the woman who's like, I'm going out back to wring a chicken's neck and make some dinner. Like
Yeah.
she carried herself like my grandma would. Like just like
Yes.
I'm about to crush some skulls. Does anybody want some soup? You know, like that's her vibe. And she plays that up too. She's very rigid in this episode of television. So she walks in, she says, "I got your towels." Notices him putting his makeup on and just this.
Because that's the best. Because he's got the little compact mirror
Yeah.
that he's looking in, and she's like looking at him in the mirror, and then he just like turns the mirror to look at him. Yeah, I brought your towels.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll just put him in the
Thanks.
bathroom. Oh, my wife's in there. You can't go in there. So she lays the towels down, and as she's leaving, she has to stop and tell him, "I think you need a little more on the right side," because he hadn't quite finished it all the
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you. Appreciate that. She leaves just shaking her head like, what am I dealing with? These people are crazy. And then he finishes his mustache, and then the bellboy comes up. Well, he goes to the mirror to finish his mustache, and the bellboy walks in with it, also not knocking.
Mhm.
While he's doing this like role play of like, woman, your husband is not, is out of town or whatever. In the mirror, the bellboy walks in, which is even more innuendo that they're doing some role play up in this hotel room on the
Right.
honeymoon. He walks in with this play. He's like, "Oh, the manager wanted me to bring you this," and this is when we discover that the bellboy is practicing or studying to be a house detective, which is not
Right.
a thing I knew existed, and I don't know
Oh,
if it does.
yeah.
That was
That's
new
why
to me.
people used to put like fake names in the book and stuff. Like, if you were there for some hanky panky, it was always a Mr. and Mrs. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
you couldn't be two single people, or
Right.
yeah, that's
you
a
always
good
had
point.
to like, oh yeah,
So the house
Yeah.
detective was in charge of finding out what shenanigans are going on in that
yeah,
hotel.
what shenanigans are going on in the hotel?
Yeah.
sure.
Oh wow. Okay. So the
Oh, yeah.
bellboy, so a legit position. The bellboy
Yep.
was studying to be a house detective, and he's pretty sure that Mr. Petrie didn't have a mustache when he first checked in. He's like, "Oh no, I definitely did." He said, "No," and I love the way he gets even closer to him, and he like points at it. He's like, "You painted it on." He's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, okay, fine. I painted it on. And as he's leaving there, he's like, he painted it on. I know
I
I'm
knew I
not the
wasn't
crazy one.
crazy.
Or I know I wasn't crazy. It's very important where you
Yeah.
put the emphasis in that line.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't crazy. Which is even better because they're at this fancy hotel. He's been called crazy, and the maid has barged in on him and made him look like an idiot multiple times.
Mhm.
But the manager sent a fruit basket, so we got that going
Yeah.
for us, which is nice.
Because because they were smooching when the bellboy was there the first time. He says
Mhm.
congratulations.
"Yeah, that's
Right.
right."
Because he thinks it's their honeymoon,
Mm-hmm.
which is,
Right.
I mean, it's their
It's
second
kind of,
honeymoon, but,
it is sure.
it's a weekend away from the children. Let's
Yes.
not,
That's just fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that. So then we get where we start to get into a little bit more chaos, as if there hasn't been enough already. Where Laura yells, that she needs Rob to come to the bathroom. He goes over to the door and tries to get in, and it's locked. And this is when the best lied. I almost fell out of my chair. He shakes the handle and he goes, "Oh, don't toy with me, you saucy wench." And I just couldn't handle how good that was.
That was the second one. I had to pause because I was laughing too much.
Oh my god!
Now,
good.
here's the thing, right? Because once we know what has happened, you know that she has been dealing with this issue for a few minutes already. Because you're not immediately calling for help. You're like, "Oh, I got this." Oh no.
I
don't
this.
I don't got this.
Yeah, and so he comes over and he's like, "Well, unlock the door." She said, "I can't. I'm stuck in the tub." Well, how skinny is the tub? Which I thought was great. She's like, no. I have my foot stuck in it.
And so as soon as she says, I'm like, "Oh no, I know exactly what's happened."
But Rob can't quite understand what's really going on. So
She's like, the faucet, it's not a faucet. Doesn't matter what it is.
Doesn't matter what it is.
By the way, though, one of the IMDb trivia entries is it's not technically a faucet, it's the spout. The faucet is what mixes the water. I was like, really? Somebody? Really?
I didn't know that. I'm glad you mentioned it because I was like, what is it then? If it's not, that's what I call the faucet. But now I understand. The spout, the faucet mixes the hot and cold water. Well, how about that? Look, you learned plumbing tips on Those Were the Days. You weren't expecting that, were you? Now you got it. So he goes over and he's like, "Well, I can't get a door open, so I'll go call the maid, send up a key to the bathroom." So he sent up a key to the bathroom. My wife has locked herself in it. No, she can't. She won't. It won't unlock. Or he creates a suspicion in this phone call with the way he says it that maybe she's in trouble and she's locked herself away from him on purpose.
Yeah.
Which that sets up a little bit of what may happen later. This is going on. So please just send somebody up with a key. And he has to get more information about what is going on. It's like, how did you get your toe stuck in the faucet? And I love her saying, "I was playing with the drip," to which my wife responded, yes. It makes perfect sense.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'm so glad. Like, I'm telling you, all of us at any given point are moments away from this happening.
It's so real. I was
because this whole episode was written from somebody who was sitting in a tub doing that one day. It was like, what would happen if I got stuck?
Like they got kind of stuck for like a second. I was like, "Whoa." Oh,
had the freak out moment, and then we're like, "Oh, hey,
this would make
Come
great
back
television."
To the writer's room the next day. "Hey guys, I got a great idea."
Yeah, get Laura stuck in the tub by her foot. So the maid hasn't come yet. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to remember all the order of operations, but the mayor hasn't come, or the maid hasn't come yet with the key. But the caviar comes. Is that where
the waiter comes with the champagne?
Waiter comes with caviar and champagne, and they can't. This is when they decide, like, do we have enough time? I don't know if we have enough time to open it. Just leave it here. I love the tip where he signs for the food, and then the guy just looks at him and waits. He's like, "Oh, 15%, right?" Fill that out. And as the guy is leaving, Laura yells from the bathroom that I'm getting very pruny or something like that. And the waiter turns back. "What did she say? She wants some prunes?" No. That was just, I love that line delivery for some reason.
Yeah.
Just like the way he said it was perfect. The maid finally comes up after she yells. The maid is in the room because the maid again does not knock because this is her
she comes in. I think she comes in as the waiter's leaving.
Yes. Right. Yeah, they come in. Yeah, she comes in.
So this is like the one time that it's fine.
That it's okay. And Laura yells, "Was that stupid maid with the key?" Which sets off the maid so well in her face.
I mean, yeah.
Well, we had a maid that was stupid once.
Right.
Smooth.
The best save. We had a maid that was stupid. And this is where we go into like this really weird territory of the maid trying to open it, and then Rob wanting to mansplain keys. Like, I can do it.
Right.
The man will get in the way and do it
Yeah.
because I know keys. You've clearly got the wrong one, and they have this back and forth about it's the wrong key. It's not the wrong key. You know, dearie, can you jiggle the handle from the other side? No, why not? I'm stuck in the tub. They get this whole back and forth about it again. It's just
I love that. She's stuck in the tub and she calls me stupid?
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the maid's all trying to work on the key. Rob can't go, but Rob calls the engineer, which I didn't know a hotel had an engineer. I learned a lot, which I guess would be like maintenance guy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm calling maintenance, but I like the hotel has an engineer. Sure, why
Yeah.
not?
Mhm.
So we're gonna call up the engineer. Unfortunately, the engineer says that he is busy with a more important problem. And Rob's like, "You can't. Nothing's more important than my wife stuck in the bathroom." Oh, okay. I guess
Yeah,
that is
okay, actually, yeah.
This makes sense. All right.
While the
Well,
maid
get
is
here when you
still
We'll
can.
get there. Yeah.
monkeying with the key, and Laura's yelling as if it's Rob, you know, like,
Yeah.
maybe
Oh,
you have
yeah.
it upside down, darling. And the maid's like, I know how to use a key, dearie.
That's really good.
So good.
I like that Laura had
just-
the wherewithal to still call him darling. Like, there's no love lost in
Mhm.
this. This is just
No.
it's a bad
Not at all.
situation. That could
She
happen
knows
to
she did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
She knows she done screwed this up.
anybody. Yeah, we're not going to the
And-
show tonight.
And Kathleen Freeman is just stealing every scene that
Yes.
she's in.
Yeah.
She's just so good.
She
Yeah.
is wonderful. There are multiple
She-
secondary characters in this that are great.
Again, I wrote down her last line as she's walking out. She gets stuck in the bathroom. He paints on a mustache. They're great a match.
Yeah.
I also love the back and forth about the door. About
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
be your door. They'll charge you for it if you break
They'll
it down.
charge you for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Just break
it's-
it down. They'll
yeah.
charge you for it.
You're gonna. He said something about your door. He said, "But your door when you break it down."
Mhm.
I thought was pretty great. It's just an amazing setup. Moving into our first commercial break, and when we get back to the present era, we're talking about like, well, how did you guys end? You're obviously not still stuck in the tub, so you got out. How did you get out? What'd you do? Shoot the lock? And Rob's like, well, actually, yeah, we did. So they kind of spoil that part for you right there in the
Mhm.
middle. But how we got
But I
there.
feel like I was like, wait, how are we gonna get?
How
How are
we
we
get a gun?
getting from where we currently are to there?
Yeah, where does a gun
Yeah.
come from
Yep.
in this whole situation? It kind of reveals a little bit about spoilers in their nature. That sometimes
Yeah.
just knowing what happens is less
Yeah.
interesting than how it happens.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
we could all take a good lesson from this episode of TV to not to panic, unless it's M. Night Shyamalan movie, and then you can be mad.
Yeah. Then,
If the spoiler's the point, you
if
know,
that's
it could
all
be
you've
bad.
got,
Yeah, if
then
that's
yeah.
if that's all that's in there is that one secret, then you're done. But otherwise, there's a whole lot of narrative to go through before you get to the 2 seconds you're worried about. But that's a discussion for another time. Back to the show. So we go back to the flashback, another wonderful wavy dissolve. It's just great. I love him. Rob breaks down the door, or rather tries to break down the door.
Mhm.
I
Okay. Oh
Love
God,
this.
it's
Yes.
so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking
Because
about
first of all,
Dick
we-
Van Dyke's physical comedy before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got it. It gets a little set up in that very beginning when they get to the room and he's shuffling on the carpet and talking about how plush and smooth it is. And
Mhm.
this becomes important. Like he's not just being a dork. This is important information
Yeah.
that we have learned.
It's
Oh,
it's
no.
that setup, man. Is set him up, knock him down. It's just so good. Rob decides that we're gonna break down the door. Every door has a weak spot, you just gotta find it. Which what he does is not how you break down a door. It's not how the fire
No.
department does it. It's
Mhm.
not how
No.
thieves do it. It's not how
No.
anyone is supposed. Brace
know.
yourself. Kick where the doorknob is. As close
Yeah.
as you can to the doorknob. That's his weakest
Yeah.
point. Anyway, that's for if you need to save your children from a fire or something.
Or your wife stuck with
Or
her
your
toes
wife's-
stuck in the bathtub.
Could be. I mean, but back in
What
the
you
60s,
don't do
Oh, sorry, Travis, go for it.
What you don't do is run at the door and throw your shoulder into the
it's so
solid
good.
oak door.
No,
Mhm.
okay. So it's
No,
so
you gotta
good
run and jump.
because
Yes.
so he runs. And
Mhm.
right before he gets to the door, she's
Oh
like,
yeah.
wait.
He just like slides to the door and stuff.
So
Oh god,
good.
it was so good.
Because there's a mirror on the back of the door. And if he
Yep.
breaks
Mhm.
down the door, the mirrors are going to go everywhere. And that's
Yeah.
dangerous. Thank you for thinking this. Thank you. This is useful information.
Mhm.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, because Rob hadn't been in the bathroom yet. And even if he had
No.
been, that might not be the thing he's thinking about.
Right.
So this is a partnership we're in here.
This solution is so good because we already know there's no towels. We know that she can't reach her bathtub. I mean, her bathrobe, because earlier she talks about, because when she says she's getting all pruny,
Yeah.
he's like, well, why don't you drain the water? She's like, it's too
Oh,
cold in
yeah.
here.
That's right.
And he's like, well, put on your bathrobe. I can't reach it. Okay, so
Mhm.
we know she can't get. So he's like, is there a bath mat? He is a
Mhm.
problem solver. He is here to fix this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Any way is there a
Yeah.
bath mat? Yes, a small one. Okay, cover as much of yourself as you can.
Yep. And get low. And
Yeah.
And
she
get
says,
low.
she says, Rob, I'll drown.
Drown.
It says not that low. It's just in that wonderful Mary Tyler
Mhm.
Moore "I'm about to cry" tone that I love so much.
Yeah.
I'll
Mhm.
drown. So don't kill yourself for me. Like, just hold on. It's just so good. So then we get our first run, our first ram.
Mhm.
Dick Van Dyke is a master of
So
making you
good.
laugh with his
Mhm.
movements, because he hits that door and it doesn't well, it like rattles just a little bit, and he grabs his
Mhm.
shoulder and he like holds it real
Mhm.
close, like, oh no, I've broken something. And Laura says, did you hit it yet?
Yeah.
Which just
That killed me.
was so good. It's like, oh, I just gotta think one more hit on to do it, and he runs.
This was
next
the best
This
one.
was the
This
best.
was
Yes.
so good.
Easily. He starts charging it with his right shoulder, and midway there, he turns and rams it with
As
his other
he's
one.
at the door, he flips to the left shoulder and hits it with that. It was
It's like,
Oh, God,
expertly
it's
done.
So
it
funny.
was like a pivot, like on his hips, just from like one side
Incredible.
to the other.
Mhm.
It was so good. I laughed so hard. And the door doesn't come down again. So now he's standing there with two floppy arms that are basically useless. It's like, I'm hurt myself again. So then he charges it one last time, but since he has no more shoulders, then he just jumps and flings his
Mhm.
body into it. Which, kudos to the set design and set
Yeah.
builders
Yeah.
for making sure that door was good and solid for him to run
Right.
into.
Mhm.
Because it could have been bad, and the door still doesn't bust open. But luckily,
Mhm.
the mirror doesn't fall off either until he leans against it in despair with his elbow,
Yeah.
and then you hear the shatter. Yep, and so you know that it's not good. So he's gonna take one more run at it.
The best part is that he does say, like, did it break?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
we've just heard this massive
Mhm.
crash. What do you think happened?
So then he runs at the door for the last time, and Laura yells, "No!" as he's like sliding into the door yet again. Well, you're gonna slip on the glass and break. You're gonna hurt yourself and everyone. So we have to do the thing where he's just like, "Forget it. I'm gonna just do it, and it's gonna be over." And he charges at the door again, but this time his door has opened without knocking yet again, the main door to the room. And a detective with a gun and the bellboy are at the door. And as he's running to slide, this time he slides because they come up with a gun and tell him
Yeah.
to stop. And the actor who plays the detective is
Mhm.
Bernard Fox. And if you
Yep.
don't
Yep.
know his name, you know his face.
You know him. Yeah.
Mhm.
He was so popular in so many different shows. He just has a recognizable face. He was in the Titanic. If you didn't know that, he was in the Mummy. I mean, he was
Yeah.
in a
Yep.
bunch of movies that hit for a while and a ton of shows. He was on Simon and Simon, which we've covered on this show before. You know him, watch the episode, and you're like, that guy. All right, Bernard
Yeah.
Fox, excellent casting choice for the local house gumshoe. It's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
So they stop Rob from ramming the door because at this point, there's a crazy man in that room who's painted on a mustache, whose wife has locked herself away to protect herself from him.
Yeah.
Because that's the call.
And he's trying to break down the door.
Yeah, now he's trying to break down the door. And he yelled something. I didn't write it down, but he yelled something before he charged the door that also sounded suspicious.
Oh, yeah.
If you weren't in on it, like, I'm coming in or something like that. And it was definitely a threatening sounding thing. So, like any good detective, they jump to conclusions, and they're going to make sure they protect this woman from this madman. So they show up with the gun. They stop him. He's trying to explain, but they get him on the floor. The detective tells the bellboy to put the cloth in his mouth so he can't talk anymore, to which Rob bites the bellboy.
Yeah.
He bit me. And the detective says, "Are you all right, ma'am?" And she says, "I'm in the bathtub." He says, "Good thinking." Just cracked me up. And while he's distracted, the two of them are distracted, kind of talking to Laura, trying to figure out what the situation is. Rob gets up, and it's a blink and you miss it move, but he like pokes the detective in the side,
In the
and
back,
says, "Give me
yeah.
your gun," and the detective just hands it over. It's like it just instinct, like, oh no, he's got a gun too. I'm in trouble. I'm just gonna give it over. So now you've got Rob holding up the detective and the bellboy with a gun in a luxury hotel with a painted on mustache and ascot and a smoking jacket, whose wife has locked herself in the bathroom. It's not looking good.
No.
But he just says, "I'm gonna shoot the lock," and then just flipping does it. No hesitation. No,
At one point, because at one point the detective's talking about shooting the lock off, and he's like, "No one's gonna. If anybody's gonna shoot the lock off, like a husband should do it for his wife."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If
I
anybody's
don't
gonna
remember.
shoot the
Like, I
lock
don't
off
think
of a
that's in the
bed-
vows, man.
of a bathroom with my wife in it with nothing on, it's gonna be me. It was something like that. So he shoots the lock off and then goes in and just cackles at it. Just oh my gosh. What have you done? It's so good the way he laughs. He comes back out of the room carrying the gun,
killed me.
laughing, going, "You guys want to see something ridiculous?" Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah. That instant
And-
snap to regain his composure.
And that was the third time in this episode that I had to pause it because I was laughing too hard.
It was so good.
Oh, and that's when we get our next commercial break. All that's gone. We assume everything has been explained. Rob is not going to prison for holding up anybody with a gun. It's the 60s. I mean, it's okay. It's probably fine. Happens every day. It's a clear misunderstanding.
Sure.
He's in the bathroom now. The engineer has come, and the engineer was played by who was the
Arthur Mallet.
Arthur Mallet.
And
Very
if you
important.
don't know
I
that
was like,
name,
you know his voice.
you know his voice because, for
Yes.
one, I just talked about him recently. He was the voice of Mr. Ages in The
Yep.
Secret of Nim.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also, the other thing that I will always remember him from is he was Toodles in Hook.
Toodles.
Yep.
Toodles. He was Toodles.
I
love Toodles lost his marbles. Yeah, Audie knows. Yeah. Oh man, I loved him in this. It's a very short role, but just wonderful. Some people you just love on screen, no matter how long they're there. He's decided to saw the faucet loose, but what I love is he says, "Give me your foot." She says, "It's in the I can't give you my foot." "No, your other foot." So he answered that. He says, "I just need to measure your toe." Would you then say that the toe in the faucet is the same as the toe on your other foot? It's like, I'd hate to nip off a piggy or something like that. I wouldn't want to nip off any of this little piggy. It's the one that goes to market. And I'm just like, you are a treasure. And so he starts.
But is that who you want? Is that who you want getting you out of the elevator that's trapped?
No wonder it took him forever to get there.
Yeah.
As long as it was going to take him to saw through that spigot, that spout.
Dude, I bet that guy knows those elevators backwards and forwards, though. He might be
Probably.
slow,
Yeah.
but you're going to all get
for
out
sure.
safely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he starts sawing at this thing, and it's like stroke, stroke. Stroke. Like, I mean, it is slow. He says, "Oh, I'll get it done. I'm 75 or something like that. 75 years old." So they finally get it done, and Laura has to get out of the tub with this ridiculous end of a faucet on her toe. She's walking around. I'm like, there's no way that is comfortable. No wonder you stormed off set. This is put you through a lot here. So they actually walk around, and they ask the engineers, like, well, you have a saw we can get this. Do you know what kind of saw or what we could do to
How do we get
off?
this
He
part
says,
off?
Yeah, and he says,
Yeah.
"Oh, you could do it with a jeweler's saw." And he says, "Oh, do you have one?" "Oh, I got all kinds of tools in here. Wish I had that one." It's like the hope on their face. It's like, oh, he's got one. No, he doesn't.
The good news is I do have a jeweler's saw, so that when the intrusive thoughts do take hold, I'm all set.
You're ready.
I'm
you're good.
fine. I just need to put it in the bathroom.
I was gonna say, from now on, you
reachable
take a
from the
shower,
tub,
bath, you just
and
put it
I'm in
right on
good
the sides.
shape.
Yeah, just have it chained there. What's that for? Oh,
Yeah.
that's my emergency jeweler saw
Yeah,
for when I inevitably get my toe stuck in the
toe
faucet,
stuck in the
spout.
faucet. Yeah.
Rather. So I did also take notice of the continuity. People for this episode did put a neatly swept mirror shattered on the ground and a broom nearby, and I was like,
Yep.
they could have not done that, and I wouldn't have bothered to notice,
Yeah.
but they did. And
That bathroom
uh-huh,
was the size of my living room.
it was huge.
It's
Yeah,
massive.
it was like about half the size of the main set, which
Yeah.
is saying something because the main set was pretty large. So,
Yeah.
It was a big old bathroom. But they get it loose, and they finally get back to the living room, and they're like, we can still go to the show. Laura says, I'll just wrap up my toe. We'll pretend I have a sprained ankle, and we'll just go to the show. And it seems like that's gonna be the idea. I'm thinking, no way. Look at how you're walking. That's not a sprained ankle. And if you do bandage it, it's gonna be like massive, like a boulder on your foot, because of the way the faucet was. He probably could have cut off a little more, but yeah, be safe.
You didn't want to take anything off that piggy.
Yeah, and I like that she's a trooper. She's like, let's just go. I mean, who cares? We're gonna go see a cool show. We'll leave. But back then, I'm sure like going to the theater for a great show was like swanky.
Yeah.
It sounded
Oh,
seemed like it was gonna be swanky anyway. Then they decide they're gonna go to the show. But we get our commercial break and we come back. They didn't go to the show, is what they tell Millie. Because what happened when they got there? She was all bundled up and had her foot all put together. When they got there, there's actually a troop from their church along with the pastor who showed up, and they were just too embarrassed to go in. Well, she was going to go in with her foot. But the person that actually blew the theater was Rob, whose mustache would not come off.
Yeah.
Because Rob did not use an eyebrow pencil to put his mustache on. He used a laundry marker.
Okay, but
Right.
why was the laundry marker in her
In
makeup
with her
bag?
makeup. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
That
Look,
is a disaster waiting to happen, girl.
why do some people put all their pills in one bottle when they travel? I mean, convenience. She knows that it's not a makeup utensil, but he does not know that.
Yeah.
These are things I tell my wife all the time. Like, when we pack the stuff that I know what it is somewhere where I know what I'm grabbing, because I don't know what your stuff is. I don't understand makeup. I'm gonna need some instructions. So Rob doesn't have the mustache in these present day scenes.
Yeah.
So Millie's like, well, how did you end up getting off? He's like, oh, I didn't get it off. And he starts wiping it, and he's like, it's still there underneath makeup. He had put makeup on to cover his lip, but they tried. What'd he try? Alcohol, benzene,
Benzene, cold cream.
cold
like,
cream.
He tried everything and nothing would take it off.
Yep, as the most permanent of laundry markers. And then we loop all the way back around with look like David Niven, or somehow
She starts to say, you know who you look like?
yeah,
He goes, David Niven.
David Niven, and she goes, no, Ben Turpin. And then he does the whoo, like the cross-eyed thing. And then we get our blah, 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 da, 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 and we can thank Carl Reiner for writing that and Jerry Paris for directing what may be one of my favorite episodes of television that I have ever seen in my life, on a short list, as a matter of fact. That did it for the Dick Van Dyke Show for this week. I know we all said we loved it. Is there any kind of standouts that we didn't cover that you guys were like, that part is the part that just put it over for me, made me super happy?
I mean, honestly, it was having 3 different moments in a half-hour show that I had to stop, pause the show, and finish laughing so that I could continue watching it is incredible.
That's so good.
Yeah.
This is one of those episodes where it's like, this was only 30 minutes long. How did they cram all this in there?
Yeah.
Right.
And it doesn't feel crammed.
Yeah.
No.
It feels like it's got a lot of room to breathe, but it moves very fast. It's just mile a minute kind of stuff. And I love this show because everything they did was super clean, and just, it's like Muppets level nonsense. Like if you're in on the joke, like the hardware store thing, like Audie said, or like, look at all the places in this room. It's great, but it's still cool to watch with your grandma, and like nobody's gonna think twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love, that's one of the things that makes me love this era of television in particular, and like up through Happy Days and stuff. It's jokes worked really well without like in your face innuendo or just blatant certain jokes. And I'm not above a good old dirty joke from time to time, but I like my network television to be pretty clean if it's just going to be on the TV with the kids running around. And they were so good at it back then. They worked so hard to make it good. And I appreciate it so much. This show is a core memory for me, and I'm happy that you all were able to come along and find some joy in it as well. It means the world. There are a lot more Dick Van Dyke episodes, and when we're doing this episode in our 60s, maybe we'll cover some more. But they're good fun. Everything about it it stands out. It's a league of its own. But yeah, that was it. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, hate mail, whatever, you can send that to thosewerethedays@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, or at Those Days Show on Twitter. Send us some notes, some thoughts about what you thought about this show in particular, or any show we've talked about. If you've been catching up on our back catalog, of which there's a big one, you can go back and listen to those and send us all your feedback. For the next 2 weeks, we are going to be out because Patrick. I was thinking Scotland, and then I was thinking Travis, and then somehow Patrick came out of my mouth. Travis
Incredible.
is going. I've got some twisted neurons right now. Travis is going to out of the country, so we're going to be missing him. And then the following week, are you still gone, Travis, or are we out for someone else?
No, it's still me.
Still
I'm gone
Travis.
for 2 weeks.
There, so direct all of your hate mail to Travis. He's the one that's putting us off for the next couple weeks.
Because me being away 1 week is irrelevant.
Right, it doesn't matter.
Because Travis is gone.
Right, because Travis is going to be like super unable to talk
So
to
gone.
us.
He's so much further than I am.
Yes. Yeah, your travel is not as... We're going to
No.
blame Travis completely this time.
It's true. I will be several time zones away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's undoable. We do expect you to spread Those Were the Days far and wide to our neighbors across the pond while you're there. Leave some, print some stickers and just leave them at every pub you visit. It'll be fine. I'm sure they'll know what they're for.
Sure.
Yeah, but when we do come back, we're going to be coming back with Amy's pick, which I am excited to learn what it is, because it has been your Maltese Falcon or whatever, trying to find where to play it. What we got, Amy?
All right. Let me tell you, heck of a thing trying to follow up this episode. So I'm happy there's just a 2-week gap. So this is the show that this show is the reason why I put this topic in to our little pool. But I've never actually watched it. is the wild part about
Ooh.
this.
Whoa.
Okay. So this is
Which-
all.
I know what the show is, and of the four of us, you having not watched it is the most surprising thing.
No, I know. I should have, but we'll get into it.
Wait, you
that's
haven't
that's
seen?
for a later time. Wait, I have not seen this. So we're gonna watch Beauty and the Beast with
Oh.
Ron Perlman and
Oh.
what's her name?
Linda
Yeah.
Hamilton.
Oh Lord.
Linda
Yeah,
Hamilton,
Linda
yeah.
Hamilton. Yeah. My sister watched it. We'll talk about it, but I
Yeah.
just so this had been on Prime and I was so excited. And then they took it off Prime. I was like, "What? Not now."
Yeah.
And they didn't
But it
just
is
take
all
time; like it just disappeared from everything. Like,
everywhere.
you
Yeah.
can't rent it anywhere. You
Yeah.
can't buy it. It just suddenly disappeared from the internet.
But
Oh,
it's on the YouTube.
Oh,
So this is good. So we will be
Mm-hmm.
watching season 2, episode 22, The Rest is Silence. I will say that this episode on YouTube does not have the opening, but there's an entire playlist of the whole series, so you can just watch the opening
Oh, yeah.
on
Okay.
a different episode.
Perfect.
Because it does kind of give you the like, here's where we're at, kind of.
Yeah.
It's a kind of it's less than just music and clips. I mean, it's more than
Yeah.
that. So yeah, The Rest is Silence. It is a Vincent heavy episode. I looked at the 2
Nice.
top rated episodes, and one of them was very Catherine heavy, and I was like, this is not what we're here for.
Yeah.
She's fine, but this is not why we're here. We're here for Ron Perlman in Foam Rubber
Yeah.
being the best.
Yes. Yes, we are. Man, I know what this, I can see the poster or the
Mhm.
cassette cover
Yep.
of this, but I've never watched an episode. So I am super interested. Well, I mean,
This is definitely the most soap opera-y we've ever done.
Oh,
So that's a
snap.
good
Probably,
time.
yeah.
That's exciting. I'm ready.
Yes.
This is going to be great. So in a couple weeks, you're going to find us back here talking about Beauty and the Beast, Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton edition, which sounds amazing. So yeah, if you want to join us anytime, you'll find us here Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Generally, you can also download the podcast. Tell your friends to download the podcast. I think it's
Just download it for them. Just take their
yeah.
phone, open their podcatcher, and download the subscribe.
Yeah, back
Just
when
do
I
it.
was back in the old days, I used to go to Best Buy and just download podcasts on the iTunes on all the computers.
If you take an
Oh.
Uber and they hand you their phone to
Yeah.
like play some tunes, just go ahead and download the
Yep.
show on their phone.
Do
Yeah.
it.
Boom.
Yeah. Get everybody you know. And if you haven't reviewed the show before on any of the places where you can review a show, do it. Help us out. Put that down there. It's also great. Also, we've got other shows if you're bored and you're trying to fill your time the next couple weeks. Ake Willow is one. Wait,
Yeah.
you haven't seen Gore.
Mhm.
We got podcasts galore between the four of us. So please get involved. Watch some shows. Listen to some stuff. And with that, for our good friends, Audie, Amy, Travis, and myself, we will see you next time here on Those Were the Days.